Oh my gosh, darn goodness. It's currently Wednesday, the 19th of June, 2013. Happy birthday to my mom. Yeah! This is also Day 9 Daily number 598, where we learn to be a better gamer, and we're going to do so using this amazing game between MVP and Innovation. A Terran vs. Terran game that was psychotic. MVP looked dead basically from the start and pulled an insane miracle to mark a win. Because there's so much back and forth action, we're just going to go through the whole game, not just using the ever so standard regular screen, but also with this advanced minimap zoom technology. Ah, yes, very cool, very sophisticado, which, as you'll note, is a mix between a sophisticated technique and an avocado. An exciting news tomorrow. I'm not going to do a daily. I'm going to play The Last of Us. Because on Friday, I can't have Day 9's day off on Friday, so I'll be doing Day 9's half day off on Thursday. Something like at 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Because I want to play The Last of Us. If any of you miss it, keep in mind if you're a subscriber, you get instant access to all the VODs at twitch.tv. Like the instant I go offline, they're immediately viewable in full. And I'm going to be uploading about an hour to YouTube a day of The Last of Us, if you missed that. So that'll be happening tomorrow. Friday is the Red Bull Training Grounds. That's where I'll be casting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with a ski-style cleft. And the following week, I'll be at MLG. The following week, I turn 27. I turn 27 on the 27th. It's my golden year. It's going to be good. I'll probably just tell stories on my birthday, because that's what I feel like doing. Oh yeah, there's going to be some sick people. There's going to be Select at the training grounds. 3 players from Root, Vibe, Kane, and Puck. Oh my god. The Muslim, Grubby, Select. I think I said one of those 2 already. Something like that. Whatever. Let's go ahead and hop into this game, and let's begin by talking about Terran vs. Terran. So we have a Terran vs. Terran on Akilon Wastes. Innovation. Many people consider him the bee's knees of Terran vs. Terran as of now. He has some really crazy fast Hellbat builds. And it's not just that he's going Hellbats. He's getting them quite early. He's like skipping over all sorts of things to get him up. And this is a map that's particularly good to do the sort of Hellbat drops on. So if we actually just look, if we just look at this wide open space here, this is the biggest issue, is that a drop can easily get into the backdoor third. Actually, I should probably move this out of the way because you can't see the screen. This backdoor third and the main base are vulnerable from this huge wide open angle, and there's also a lot of space here. In fact, I'm going to click here and I'll even show you. This is the huge space that you have to angle in. So it's not just as simple as placing a turret there. You can circumvent that by going all the way down here. So this is one of the big reasons why Hellbat drops are not just effective on all maps, but very effective on this map all game long. Also, as we continue to look at our amazing minimap technology, this natural expansion has an exposed north side that has some vulnerability, but primarily it's this angle at the back. Also significant to note are the fact that pretty much anywhere you go, there is a corridor. Like right here on either side of the giant slit in the middle. Corridors here and here. Corridors all along these naturals. Here's a narrow area. We'll actually go ahead and take some in-depth look at these. This is pretty narrow. This passageway here, quite narrow. And, I mean, look at, like, imagine a mech army here. It's very difficult to surround on all sides. So there's only a few areas where you can actually engage in full. This is one of them, outside the naturals. Right here and here. And then there's another one here. On the south side of the shrubbery. These are really the only large engagement areas. And maybe you could also construe this upper expansion as another engagement area, but it's pretty far away. So this is one of the big reasons why people enjoy going mech. The fact that there are just so many tight corridors everywhere. Really only this place is the concern. And also because with our natural and these 2 bases here, MVP can easily get these 4 bases up. So we need to have a damn good reason to be going Marine Marauder, which is what we're going to see Innovation do, because he's innovative. And that is the high point of the daily, that joke. Thanks for watching. Woo! Woohoo! By the way, am I the oldest person here? I'm 26. Anyone older than 26 watching? Who is a subscriber, of course. And I want you to note how just on point this is. Sound starting at the start of the daily. How unusual. How unusual. Oh, some people in their 30s here. What up? What up, guys? Yeah, yeah. Go team. Alright, awesome. Go team not in high school. Yeah. We're going to band together, much like you would do in middle school. We're in high school. Yeah! Woo! Let me tell you a fact of life. Life gets monotonically more awesome as you get older. I have no idea what anyone else is talking about, but yeah, college was just, it was all downhill after there. No way. Life just gets amazing. And it comes down to a very simple reason. When you live alone, are completely financially independent, suddenly you realize you can eat as much bacon as you want and no one will tell you not to. If I want to stay awake till 4 in the morning watching My Little Pony, I can. And no one's even going to ask me about it. I mean, I'll tell you about it, but no one's going to ask me. No one's going to, like, double check. Like, let me see your internet history. No, man, I watch that shit incognito. You can't find any information about My Little Pony. Let's go into the game. There we go. As much bacon as you want. Okay, so the Hellbat drop is significant not just because of its openness in the backside, but of course because of its just the timing when it shows up. Most players will really not have anything. They will either have a low amount of Marines without being able to do much, or they'll be going for a Hellbat drop themselves and not have much to stop it. It just strikes at a very, very weak time for a Terran player. Now, it may get nerfed, and fortunately, this game isn't going to revolve all around the Hellbat. So we're good. Oh, let me just note, here's the outline of what we want to do. We're going to spend part 1 largely focusing on the opening and how MVP's boned. We're then going to be stepping in the end of part 1 and in part 2 discussing the mid-game goals and why innovation is going Marine Marauder and therefore what his goals are, why MVP is going mech and therefore what his goals are. And we'll wrap up with some of the positional analysis and seeing what how those goals change over time. So pop, pop. So we have some pretty typical timings, some pretty typical looking timings that since we're going to be doing one game today, I see no reason not to discuss them a little bit. Let's go ahead and hit that B button because I'm a B-boy. This barracks at 14, followed by a relatively late refinery rallied in at 15. Almost always, this is a signal that innovation is going to be doing one of two things. Going command center and then reactor on this barracks, or going command center and then a factory. Most gas timings like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 all mean different things for players who are doing them optimally. And of course you could go 15 gas and then go Reaper, but we don't consider that a build because it's just a worse version of 12 gas, faster Reaper. So the later the gas, the more so it signals that you want to be going for a factory tech. The earlier the gas, the more it signals you want to be doing something with the barracks, with the earliest being Reapers, the middle ones being the reactors. So, alright, speeding things up. Both players doing the smart thing, rallying out to this ramp to try to deny scouting. If you have 2 Marines, place 1 here and 1 here because SVs will try to sneak up the side, and both Marines can always shoot in the middle, but you want to have maximum shoot time. Spreading them out, do-do-a-do-wop, a-boopy-doop-doop-doo. Yep, there it is. The slightly earlier gas from Innovation signals the reactor. The slightly later gas from MVP signals a pectory. So here comes Command Center. This is a 16 refinery, or late 15, to be able to go for factory. Now, I'm actually going to speed this up just a smidge. Innovation's build, I'll just tell you conceptually what he's going to do. He is going to be going for Marine and Hellion pressure with a medevac. So I'll stop right there, and I want to talk about the reasoning behind it. We go for a Marine Hellion opening because for one, we think it can do damage, and for two, we think it can hold off a Hellbat drop, and for three, it's going to allow us to transition into something significant later on. So of course, it does damage. I'll just show you the damage it does. Against the Hellbat drops, how does it deal with this very well? Well, we'll look at the timing of this. Part of it is timing, the other part is composition. Timing, again, we'll see in a bit. Compositionally, our Hellions outrange and do bonus damage to the Hellbats, so we have a tool in place. And of course, with our starport, we'll have the Viking up to be able to deal with that. And then the third one, what are we going to transition to later? We have some options because we have this increased Marine count. We actually can transition into bio, and we will have this factory to be able to get some tanks up for safety. So that's what we're going to be seeing out of Innovation. So what I'm going to do is we're actually going to watch just Innovation's point of view at warp speed, so that way we can get a sense of what this build order is all about. And we'll be able to talk about timings and all that good jazz. So we can do a little swap-a-roo, and here's our Hellions coming out. Now notice that we got a factory pretty quickly, and we immediately followed with our starport pretty quickly. So we can kind of safely say that our opponent, if he is going for Hellbat drops, he won't have his medevac done quite right now. He won't have his medevac done. There's a low chance he'll have that medevac quite done. A little bit of micro in the middle would signal to us that indeed MVP is going Hellbat, and here we see a benefit of this build from Innovation versus just the Hellbat drop. I'm thinking just about the Hellbat drop right now. We can move to the front here, and we can begin to try to approach and begin to move out like this now, and we're going to strike our opponent at about the same time that he's going to strike us. But because we're building these extra Hellions, we can always rally back into our main base with these Hellions for safety. There is an obvious risk here that, ooh, what if I don't have the necessary defenses up to be able to withstand this? But at the same time, this force that has all these Hellions has some flexibility, and we're going to be doing some real punishment at his front. So in a sense, timing-wise, we're hitting a Hellbat player when he's hitting us, so we're hoping to crush through his forces at the front, because he won't have that much. He'll be making Hellbats, and our Hellion Marine force will crush through that. It's a kind of a dangerous spot to be in Terran vs. Terran, but that's the way the matchup goes. So here's the other cute thing that we're seeing out of Innovation. Actually, I do mean this seriously. Even though I went... You have to have a plan like that. Either I'm going to play straight defensive against Hellbats, or I'm going to attack when he's attacking and accept that I'm just going to trade better than he is. So, the third reason, the first reason we'll do damage, we talked a little bit about. The second reason we like this opening, that it is directly able to deal with Hellbats. We can sort of see in this stock up of Hellions and when it's attacking. And the third thing, we interestingly see from Innovation, upon perceiving nothing directly. He's seen just a medevac, but even before that, he began this tech lab. Innovation is electing to go into a Marine tank force. Kind of cool. It's a pre-planned goal. I'm definitely going to be going for Marine tank. Now, I'm going to come back to the other guy in this game. I don't know, just the #1 money-earning player of all time in StarCraft's history. Considered to be far and away one of the best players to have ever touched the game. We'll look at his opening. I don't like it that much. I genuinely don't. MVP's opening is to go with mines. I think it's just weak. It doesn't have the same aggressive potential that the Hellbats do. I think that there are some situations where we might have slightly more versatility. Like if our opponent began to try to get really aggressive with Hellions, we could really snipe him off with some mines. But I just think that versus the overall broadened Terran metagame, yeah, it's yucky. I don't like it. Also, cool fact about mules, if you mule the faraway mineral fields, you don't have to pull the mules off. Select showed this in a recent video. So conceptually, MVP just does the usual lifting, landing, trading, gets up to Hellions to begin pushing, doing scouting. If he sees nothing, he's going to assume that his opponent is going for very, very aggressive Hellbats. If he sees some Hellbats, he's going to assume that his opponent is doing something a little more standard. Here we have the 2 mines. So, oh, he sees Hellions. Whoops, well, it looks like Innovation microed slightly better. And now suddenly we are in a really awkward spot. If our opponent floods Hellions, we're going to be in comfortable shape with these mines. But we also kind of want to use these mines to be counter-aggressive, which I'm a little bit like, on. I do like the choice to walk through the middle of the map, both for speed and also to see exactly what's up. But we're going to see this go kind of awry. So let's look at the interaction of these 2 builds. Both players sort of correctly saying, well, the Hellbat drops are a big thing. I'm going to get a Viking out to at least kill the medevac. It's going to be coming on up with all that. Innovation has so many options right now. This is going to be the most frequently utilized option to run the medevac up here, because Hellbats will be slow and will be rallied here, and we can get everything up to the high ground, avoiding any bunker. Innovation doesn't know that there's no bunker here, but that's fine. He saw medevac move out, so he immediately assumes Hellbats. Great. If for some reason MVP was doing something like going for more traditional slow Marines, like 3 barracks, then this medevac can drop here and these 6 Hellions can run into the front. You can do a little bit of a read on these tactics. But this is one of the big reasons why I dislike this mine build. Because we went mines and we didn't go Hellbats, we don't exactly have the defense here, but more importantly, we don't exactly have the counter drop offensive here. So we're just going to take a look at how terribly this goes for MVP. I mean, he barely manages to hold it off, but then Hellion reinforcements up the front mean that his unit count, worker count, gets very, very low. 9-30. So Innovation looks to be in bad shape, and if we rewind and take a look at the innovation or the damage that MVP did back to Innovation, it's really poor. You can be very annoying with mines. They're a low investment, but you can't exactly guarantee damage or be as threatening as with the Hellbat drop. Sort of consistently, Diapollo and I at the WCS Grand Finals, we were talking about this, being like, ugh. So I mean, like that's neat, but we can see the clear difference here. And now all of a sudden these have to depart. So I mean, I'm really just sort of I was really questioning this play throughout. It never really seemed to be that absolutely terrifying. And now MVP sort of pulls back into the traditional mech mix. This is an intelligent follow-up to go for this factory with Hellbat, as well as this reactor barracks, because if we're MVP, we want to make sure that we keep up in that pace. Especially not falling behind in air and making sure that we're able to do enough damage. So suddenly for MVP, his goals, ooh, that's ugly. MVP has a weird goal right now. He actually has to do a lot of damage because this happened. And he can do damage in 2 ways. A direct way is by taking out workers and killing stuff off. The indirect way is by keeping his opponent pinned back for so long that MVP can regain his footing and regain these bases. So in other words, aggression. He has to do some form of aggression, or he can pull way back and be hyper passive. And we're going to see MVP do kind of those 2 extremes in phases. He's going to start off trying to be aggressive and poking, and he's going to transition in the mid game to being very, very passive and sort of holding. Because bluntly, even if you're way behind now, if you get to the point where you're maxed, you know your opponent can't have more stuff because you're both at the supply cap. Innovation just has to defend, but it's how he defends and how he follows up that I like a lot. So we're going to wrap up part 1 by looking just at the positioning from Innovation. Got a really nice read. This is a very telling mixture. He can only get Hellbats 2 at a time, Marines 2 at a time, or air units like Vikings 2 at a time. Like in the right now. Sure, he can get other add-ons, but we're worried about the right now stuffs. So Innovation does two things I really like. For one, he just sieges his tanks up here. Like tucked really far back. I actually prefer that siege tank to be like right there, but you know, his workers are mining at the south side, so that's fine. Gets a second Viking up. And just keeps everything back. Viking at the bottom side, Viking at the top side. Begins to rack up this tank production. And we're going to see this crank into gear in the mid and late game that I really like. In Bio versus Mech, having the tank count lead as the Bio player is tremendous because it allows you to do something, you know, like put up a tank line right here or put up a tank line here and then move around to this side and move around to that side and use the tanks as an anchor. But unless we get that tank count started very early, we're kind of screwed. And then the other thing that I really like that Innovation does is he says, well, since you have to do damage to me economically, I'm just going to go ahead and get a command center. And there we see the medevac dropping in. Siege tank unsieges. Complete and utter devastation. And following this up, Innovation even gets bunkers up at these top sides to deny this harassment. Again, another reason why I kind of like this tank scooted out a little bit more so we can shoot stuff at that side. So, yeah, this is a good position to stop. More barracks coming up from Innovation. Siege Tank Factory coming out. And I'll just note one more bit of brilliance that I like quite a bit about Innovation's build. Normally, if you look at the traditional bio openings that transition into mech, you saw players favoring getting stim and combat shield early, so that way they could shove their way across the map, get a lot of map control, make sure that the meching player was like, held back all defensively, and try to win with that positional comfort. Because we don't want to have something happen where we're contained by the mech player, or the mech player can siege up in a good spot. However, Innovation also knows that he has to balance getting a lot of bio out to contain the player with trying to get a lot of tanks. And how do we do that? Well, this is the brilliance of this little... Oops, rewound a little bit too much. Let's come back to this 8-minute mark. That's the brilliance of this kind of push. We're either going to do damage, or at the very least, we're going to keep our opponent pushed back. So this acts as a substitute for having to get all the big stim and combat shield plays that we normally see players do. So when we come back, we're going to stop bouncing back and forth between the players and just look at the game more straightforwardly going into the mid-game to talk about what MVP has to do and how he begins to recover to stay ahead. So, stay tuned because part 2 is coming up very shortly. Very shortly. Yeah, ooh, I opened up the right overlay. I thought I accidentally misclicked. Let's listen to some, something nice and chill.